Well, you should not be charged any dealer fees when buying out your car lease. That's been the focus of two recent Local 10 News investigations.
But despite the laws in place and consumers trying to fight back, complaints continue to come in, and tonight some state lawmakers say it has to stop.
Test drives that turn unsafe as the man behind the wheel films it all. It's been happening for months, but now some dealerships are speaking out, saying that the driver is putting their employees and the general public at risk, all for social media.
Smart buyers never follow the dealer's test route, and here's why. Those smooth loops and gentle turns are designed to hide the car's flaws. The rattles, the weak brakes, the fear you'll feel merging onto the highway. All of it carefully kept out of sight. So who benefits from that illusion? What are they desperate to keep you from discovering? And how do you break free from their script? Because by the time this video ends, you'll know how to test a car the way it really lives or dies. The comfort trap. Here's the move most buyers skip. Listening to their own body before the engine even starts. Not the salesperson's pitch, not the glossy brochure, just their own back, legs, and eyesight. Because here's the pain nobody tells you about. You can drop $30,000 on a car that looks perfect on paper, but if your knees slam the dash or your neck twists to see the mirrors, you'll hate it every single day. That frustration builds. Every commute becomes a chore. Every road trip turns into regret. Now, dealerships love when you ignore this. They want you dazzled by horsepower or screen size so you don't notice that you barely fit behind the wheel. They'll rush you in and out, hoping you'll convince yourself it's good enough. But comfort isn't luxury. It's survival. Smart buyers adjust everything. Sit for a minute, move around, and ask, do I actually belong in this car? Most people never do this, and that's why they're stuck with daily misery. But the smart ones, they trust their body, not the brand's hype. And here's the truth nobody admits. Comfort isn't a luxury. It's survival. A car that strains your back or limits your view makes every trip a battle. Small aches turn into constant pain, and constant pain turns into regret. Smart buyers know discomfort today becomes misery tomorrow. But comfort means nothing if the car betrays you the second you hit the road. The hidden truth of handling. The road is the only lie detector a car can't fool. Everyone else just cruises around the block, smiles politely, and signs the papers. Then the pain hits later. Weak acceleration, sloppy brakes, suspension that rattles your teeth. Imagine spending years paying for a car that feels unsafe every time you merge onto the highway. That's not just regret, that's fear. And dealerships know this. That's why they stick you on those smooth little loops near the lot with gentle right turns and no hills. They're hiding the truth. They don't want you flooring it on the highway, slamming the brakes, or hearing how the car rattles on a rough road. Because if you did, half their inventory would suddenly look overpriced. Smart buyers ignore the salesman's preferred route. They make their own. They push the car hard, feel the brakes, take it over bumps, and ask themselves, does this thing actually keep me safe? That's how you turn a test drive into real knowledge. Handling isn't about thrill, it's about trust. If the car hesitates when you need it, or wobbles when the road gets rough, your safety is on the line. A flashy design means nothing if the machine can't protect you when it matters. And just when you think you've tested performance, the real trap hides behind glowing screens and buttons. The tech mirage. Behind every glowing screen and fancy gadget hides a risk that could haunt you later. Everyone else just nods while the salesperson swipes through menus. And then 6 months later, they're screaming at a frozen screen or paying thousands for a glitchy sensor. Here's the pain. Your car isn't just wheels anymore, it's a rolling computer. And when that computer fails, your patience, your wallet, and sometimes your safety take the hit. Automakers love to show off shiny touchscreens and half-baked driver assist gimmicks. But once you drive away, those features are your problem. Dealers rarely explain what happens when they break, or how much it costs to fix. That's why smart buyers push every button, pair their phone, blast the heat and air conditioning, and activate every sensor. If something feels clunky or confusing now, it will be torture after year one. Once the honeymoon ends, broken tech doesn't just annoy you. It traps you. Outdated software, failed sensors, or a frozen screen can cost thousands to repair. Automakers gamble that you won't test it deeply enough. Smart buyers prove them wrong before signing anything. Smart buyers don't fall for the light show. They test the tech like skeptics, and that saves them from years of daily frustration. But none of that matters if you don't ask the questions salespeople fear the most. If you're finding value so far, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. What's the sneakiest thing you've ever caught during a test drive? Questions that corner salespeople. The sharpest buyers know the test drive isn't just about driving, it's about interrogation. Everyone else just nods along, letting the salesperson talk circles around them. That's how buyers end up with hidden costs and nasty surprises later. The pain is real. Paying extra for warranties that don't cover electronics, getting stuck with service schedules you never agreed to, or finding out too late that the family car doesn't actually fit a car seat. Salespeople are trained to keep you quiet. They'll dodge, distract, or make you feel awkward for asking tough questions. But smart buyers don't care. They ask anyway. Does this warranty cover the battery? Can I see the service history? Why are we avoiding the highway? Those questions strip away the illusion and force the seller to show their hand. Every sharp question resets the balance in your favor. Salespeople thrive when you stay polite and passive, but one tough question forces honesty. It reminds them you're not just buying, you're evaluating. And the moment they feel that shift, the deal changes. And here's the thing, asking questions doesn't just protect you. It shows the dealer you're not an easy mark. That alone changes how they treat you. You've asked the right questions, but smart buyers know the real answers come once you push the car harder. Time is the enemy. The shorter the drive, the bigger the trap. Everyone else gets rushed through a quick loop, signs the contract, and only later discovers what the car is really like. Here's the pain. A 5-minute spin tells you nothing. You'll think the ride is fine until weeks later when the brakes fade on the highway or the seats feel like torture after half an hour. That's when regret sets in, and it's already too late. Dealers design those short routes on purpose. They know the less time you spend behind the wheel, the less likely you are to find the flaws. They'll act like 20 minutes is too long, when in reality, 20 minutes is the bare minimum to uncover problems. Smart buyers don't play along. They stretch the drive, hit the highway, cruise side roads, park, restart, and drive again, because time exposes truth. The faster the dealer gets you back to the lot, the less you discover. It's not an accident, it's strategy. Every skipped mile hides a weakness. Stretching the drive isn't being difficult, it's being smart, because time isn't just distance, it's truth. Every extra mile is another chance for the car to betray its marketing. A smooth 5-minute ride can turn into a noisy, tiring mess after 15 miles. Smart buyers know this, and they refuse to be rushed. But once you stay in the car longer, your senses start catching what the paperwork never shows. Listen and smell. Your ears and nose catch what shiny paint jobs are meant to hide. Everyone else leaves the music blasting, distracted by sales talk, while the car whispers all its secrets. Here's the pain. Those little rattles, groans, and smells you ignore today turn into expensive repair bills tomorrow. Imagine driving your dream car home, only to realize it squeaks over every bump or reeks of coolant leaks. That nightmare starts during the test drive, if you're paying attention. Salespeople hate silence. They'll keep talking, pointing out cup holders and paint colors, anything to drown out the sounds you should be noticing. But smart buyers fight for silence. They listen. A faint whistle could mean a seal problem. A grinding brake could mean neglect. Even the smell of burning oil or strong exhaust fumes tells you more than any brochure ever could. And here's the twist. Your senses sharpen under pressure. A dealership may polish the car until it gleams, but they can't hide a sour odor in the vents or a rattle deep in the suspension. Those tiny warnings are lifelines. Ignore them, and you're signing up for trouble. Your senses are your best defense. Ignore them, and you'll regret it. Trust them, and you'll catch the lies before they cost you. And if the car passes your senses, the next danger hides in its history. Wear never lies. Every scratch, stain, and uneven tire is a confession in plain sight. Everyone else gets hypnotized by a clean wax job and vacuumed carpets, forgetting that a car's true story is written in its wear. Here's the pain. You could drive home a lemon disguised as a gem. Tires with uneven wear, pedals worn smooth, or rust creeping around the wheel wells are all signs of bigger problems waiting to explode in your bank account. And here's the call-out. Dealers know presentation sells. They'll polish the paint, spray new car scent, and hope you never crouch down to check under the body for leaks or corrosion. They hope you don't ask for service records, because sometimes those records don't exist. But smart buyers always ask. They run their hands over the tires, test the seats, look for rust, and inspect fluids. They know neglect cannot be scrubbed away. Cars can't hide their past, no matter how well they're detailed for the lot. Smart buyers read those clues like chapters in a book. Ignore them, and you inherit every careless page someone else wrote. When you find the truth in the wear, you find the real value of the car. Miss it, and you inherit someone else's problems. But even a car in good shape can betray you slowly, when your own body starts to feel it. The fatigue factor. Discomfort is sneaky. It waits until mile 20 to show its face. Everyone else assumes the first 5 minutes of comfort will last forever. Here's the pain. A seat that pinches your shoulders or a steering wheel that strains your arms doesn't bother you right away, but drive that car daily, and it becomes agony. You'll find yourself dreading commutes, avoiding trips, and wondering why your perfect car feels like a cage. Brands brag about horsepower and features, but they rarely admit how tiring their cars can be. Salespeople rush you before fatigue sets in. They don't want you to realize that after 20 minutes, your back aches or your legs cramp. But smart buyers stretch the test. They drive long enough to feel reality. If fatigue creeps in during the test drive, it will dominate your ownership. Mechanics can check fluids and sensors, but only you can feel if a car leaves you sore, strained, or restless. Ignoring those signals means ignoring the one voice that never lies: your own. Comfort over time is the truth test. Ignore it, and you'll live with regret. Catch it early, and you save yourself years of pain. And that's when the smartest buyers flip the script, using what they learned to seize control of the deal, turning flaws into power. Every flaw you spot is leverage, if you know how to use it. Everyone else shrugs off the rattles, the squeaks, or the awkward blind spot, thinking they are small things. Here's the pain. Those small things become your daily problems, but the dealer still charges you full price. That's how buyers end up overpaying for flawed cars. Salespeople are trained to make you feel guilty for pointing out flaws. They'll say, "That's normal," or "Every car does that." It's a tactic to make you doubt what you noticed. But smart buyers flip that script. They say, "The brakes squealed during my test. What are you going to do about it?" Or, "This seat didn't fold flat. So why should I pay the advertised price?" When you bring specific evidence, you shift power away from the salesperson. And here's the secret weapon: silence. When you point out a flaw and then stop talking, the dealer feels the pressure to fill that silence with a concession. Smart buyers don't argue endlessly. They let the evidence speak. One pause can be worth more than 1,000 words. A test drive is not just about choosing a car. It's about gathering ammunition. The smart ones know how to use it. But even with the price lowered, there's another battlefield waiting. In the fine print, paperwork traps. The real danger doesn't sit in the driver's seat. It hides in the paperwork. Everyone else gets excited, rushes through the paperwork, and ends up chained to contracts that bleed them dry. Here's the pain: warranties that don't cover the parts most likely to fail, mandatory service schedules that lock you into overpriced maintenance, or add-ons you didn't even notice until the bill shows up. By the time you realize it, you're stuck. Now let's call out the brand game. Dealerships make more profit from contracts than from the cars themselves. They sell you protection packages, gap insurance, or extended warranties at ridiculous markups. They bury exclusions in the fine print because they know you're too eager to catch them. But smart buyers treat the paperwork like part of the test drive. They read every line, circle every vague clause, and demand clear answers. And here's the brutal part: once your signature hits the page, every mistake is locked in. There's no undo button, no quick escape. Dealers know this and exploit it. That's why slowing down is power. Reading carefully costs minutes, but skipping it can cost you thousands over years. It's not paranoia, it's survival. And it's how smart people make sure the deal they earned in the test drive doesn't get stolen in the office. And even if you survive the contract, regret can creep in months later. The 6-month regret horizon. Regret doesn't slam into you. It creeps in 6 months at a time. Everyone else falls in love with the new car smell and only realizes the truth 6 months later. Here's the pain: fuel bills are higher than expected, maintenance costs start piling up, and resale value drops faster than you imagined. Suddenly, the dream car feels like a mistake you're stuck paying for. Automakers and dealers count on this. They know the glow will fade, but by then, you've signed a contract. They load cars with flashy features you barely use, while ignoring the long-term costs you actually care about. Smart buyers break that cycle. During the test drive, they imagine living with the car for years, not days. They ask, how much will I spend fueling this every week? How much does it cost to replace that panoramic roof if it breaks? What will this car be worth when I trade it in? And here's what stings most. Regret doesn't hit like a crash. It creeps in. You notice it at the gas pump, at the repair shop, or when friends ask what you paid. That slow burn of disappointment is worse than upfront cost because it never really goes away. Thinking 6 months ahead saves you from 6 years of regret. That's what separates the smart buyer from the average one. That's why the smartest buyers zoom out beyond specs and deals to ask if the car truly fits their life. Cars as lifestyle choices. A car isn't just metal and tech. It's a lifestyle decision you live with daily. Everyone else gets hypnotized by horsepower or giant touchscreens without asking the most important question: does this car fit my actual life? Here's the pain. The car that looks cool in the lot may be miserable for your commute, your family, or your weekend plans. That mismatch turns ownership into a burden instead of freedom. Time to call it out. Brands love to sell fantasy. They show you glossy commercials of families road tripping or athletes tossing surfboards into the back. But they don't care whether those features actually match your reality. Smart buyers test with their lives in mind. They bring car seats, sports gear, even their dog crate to see if the car really works. They picture their daily drive, their winters, their summers, and their future. When you test for your lifestyle, you protect your happiness. When you don't, you buy into someone else's fantasy. And that is how regret is born. And here's the kicker. Lifestyle fit decides whether you love your car years from now. Features lose their shine, but daily comfort and practicality never stop mattering. When the car matches your real life, every drive feels effortless. When it doesn't, no gadget or upgrade can cover that failure. And once you see cars as lifestyle choices, you'll realize this isn't just personal. It's reshaping the entire industry. You've seen how smart buyers flip the test drive in their favor. If you don't want to miss the next Insider Breakdown, hit subscribe right now. Stay sharp, stay informed, and never get trapped by the dealer's game again. The consumer uprising. Every buyer who walks away sends a shockwave through the industry. Everyone else thinks they're just checking comfort or features. But here's the truth. Your decision pressures automakers to change. And here's the pain. When buyers stay silent, companies cut corners. You end up with worse safety, cheaper materials, and features nobody asked for. Let's call it out. Automakers listen when sales drop. Blind spot monitors, rear cameras, even anti-lock brakes didn't appear out of goodwill. They were forced into existence because people demanded them. Every time a buyer walked away from a car that felt unsafe or uncomfortable, the message got louder. The same thing is happening now with tech. Cars that lag or glitch get roasted online, and brands scramble to fix them. Smart buyers aren't just protecting themselves, they're shaping the entire industry. When you refuse to settle, you tell automakers exactly where they can't cut corners. You think it's just one test drive, but multiplied by millions. It's a consumer uprising. And here's the hidden truth. The market bends faster than you think. Automakers track every sale, every return, every complaint. When buyers consistently reject shortcuts, companies scramble to fix them. That means your voice, multiplied by thousands, forces billion-dollar corporations to listen, even when they pretend they don't. But the real power doesn't stop at design. It reaches regulators watching closely. Regulation by test drive. Laws change when enough drivers demand better during and after their test drives. Everyone else assumes safety standards appear out of thin air. Here's the pain. If consumers don't complain, regulators don't act, and cars stay more dangerous than they should be. Every major regulation you take for granted started with people pushing back. Seatbelts, airbags, even the placement of headlights, those didn't come because brands wanted to be kind. They came because drivers, crash victims, and smart buyers made noise. Today, features like lane keeping assistance and automatic braking are heading the same way, from premium extras to mandatory equipment, because people demand them on test drives and refuse to buy cars without them. If consumers stay quiet, standards stagnate. That's what automakers want: minimal oversight, maximum profit. But every time you notice a flaw, file a complaint, or reject a car, you're adding fuel to the push for better laws. And here's the reality. Politicians rarely move first. They react. When enough buyers complain, regulators scramble to catch up, turning consumer frustration into official rules. If drivers stay quiet, nothing changes. But every smart buyer who speaks up adds pressure that lawmakers cannot ignore. And that changes everything. And beyond politics, every corner cut has a human and environmental cost: the hidden toll. Cheap cars are never truly cheap. Someone, somewhere, pays the real price. Everyone else sees a shiny car and never asks what it cost to build it. Here's the pain. When automakers chase shortcuts, the real bill is paid by workers and the environment. Cheaper cars often mean exploited labor. Factories overseas run on long hours, unsafe conditions, and low wages to meet impossible quotas. The workers suffer so that dealers can smile while selling you a great deal. And the planet pays too. Cheap materials usually mean higher emissions, more waste, and toxic runoff. A poorly built car doesn't just cost you later in repairs. It costs the environment now. Smart buyers don't close their eyes to that. They ask where the parts come from, how the battery is made, and whether the company invests in sustainable practices. Every choice you make rewards either responsibility or exploitation. And here's the catch. Every cheap deal you accept tells the industry that exploitation works. Your dollars become votes, and those votes encourage more corner cutting. But when you demand better, you disrupt the cycle. One smart choice in a test drive can echo through factories, supply chains, and ecosystems worldwide. Which brings us to the final truth. Why the smartest test drive isn't about cars at all. It's about power. Your test drive, your power. A test drive isn't a formality. It's the most powerful choice you'll ever make at the dealership. Everyone else thinks it's just a formality, but here's the pain. Every rushed, careless decision hands your power to the dealer, the automaker, and even the market. That means years of frustration, debt, and regret, all because you didn't push harder during that one short drive. Brands, dealers, and even banks rely on your silence. They win when you play along, lose focus, and settle. But smart buyers don't settle. They stretch the drive, they ask the hard questions, they call out the flaws, and they refuse the fine print traps. Every single move is about reclaiming power. And here's the challenge. This isn't just about cars. It's about your future, your money, your safety. Treat the test drive casually, and you gamble with all three. Treat it seriously, and you set yourself up for years of confidence and control. And here's what most people miss. Confidence at the dealership spills into confidence everywhere else. When you refuse to be rushed, when you push back on the upsell, when you stand firm on what matters, you're not just buying a car, you're proving to yourself that your judgment is enough. So when you slide behind the wheel, ask yourself, are you testing the car? Or is the car testing you? You've just learned the secrets dealers never wanted you to know, and now every test drive is your battlefield. The smartest buyers take control, and now, so can you. Don't walk into the next lot blind. Walk in ready. Your money, your comfort, your safety, all on your terms.